herb in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain and break up all the circles and the chains. I need some meditation in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain. Break up all the circles and the chain. Hey, no, this could never be no man killer. Good for my head, so me call it as the man healer. When me ill, you know me never need a painkiller. It's quite exciting, me call it as the man chiller. Give me good man, so me not think iller. What a inspiration, fit on a sound killer. For the pagan, me spark it like a 9 miller. Fi fight the liquor and the coke, ganja and the pillar. That's why me need some herb in my brain. So bring the medication for my brain to heal the whole of the nation from the pain. Break up all the circles and the chains. I need some herb in my brain.
And this is a chart that I think says in another way what he so profoundly provided us today. This chart to me represents beautiful, educated, moneyed black people all over America. It could represent black organizations, it could represent black churches, it could represent black social and civic organizations. And what you will notice about these beautiful black people all over America is that everybody is doing their own thing. Caught up in a Eurocentric value of rugged individualism. Having forgotten that it takes a village to raise a child. There is no power here, brothers and sisters. There is no power here. Power is most effective concentrated. You can take a 55-gallon drum of water, spill it over, it will disperse, find its own level, and eventually evaporate. You can take that same 55-gallon drum of water, put it under pressure, put a lid on it, put a hose in it, put a nozzle on the end of that hose, and it can cut concrete. There is no power with us being disconnected. See, there's nothing wrong with dispersion. I live in Cleveland, you live in Atlanta. We have folk in the Caribbean, we have folk in Africa. That's dispersion. That's okay, but we do not have to be disconnected. We are a disconnected people. We are powerless in disconnection. This is where all the power is. You see? This is where all the power is. Whether you are at the center of your own network or a part of someone else's network, this is where the power is. There's a beautiful African proverb that says, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. When we connect, because we are disconnected, we're disconnected from those of like mind. We're disconnected from the best practices in our community. I don't care what it is that you want to do, what profession you want to engage in, what business you want to get into. I can introduce you to brothers and sisters all over America that they are doing it to death. You just don't know who they are. You are disconnected from them. There is no power in disconnection. Okay? When we connect, we prevent interlopers from coming into our communities and taking and destroying at will.
All right, George.
Try to open up the Booker T. Washington delicatessen in Chinatown and see what happens. So we must connect. We must connect the dots. That must be the movement for our people in the 21st century. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. We need to get together to get ahead.
The next new Black history maker is in the ADDI, starting with Dr. Arikana, who is the founder and CEO of the ADDI, the African Diasporan Development Institute, which is the leading organization at present organizing the African diasporans and linking with various organizations and up to the presidential level of many countries in Africa. Dr. Arikana, of course, in case people don't know, was the ambassador of the OAU to the United States and the Caribbean before she was thrown out. She was thrown out by the neo-colonial leaders in the OAU, mainly among the French, because she said she spoke the truth about how the French continued to exploit, the French government continued to exploit Africa. I usually thought that the British were the wickedest colonizers and neo-colonial power, but I found out that the French government are wickeder, more wicked, I don't know which is the correct word, than the British. Of course, historically, the Dutch are the wickedest in South Africa. The Boers in South Africa are the Dutch, and they had the apartheid system going for years. They and the British together for years. I just in one slide we see that Sister Arikana, Dr. Arikana, is in a meeting in a meeting with Dr. Professor PLO Lumumba, who is the Vice President of the ADDI and a very active person in Africa for African unity and Pan-Africanism generally. The other picture is the other slide is showing a meeting between Dr. Arikana and Brother Akon. Dr. Arikana originally is from Zimbabwe.
Hold on, know that it's time to be strong. Let's all believe in the future. Together we can move on. Raise up your voice and be heard. Calling every generation, all over together. Whoa, whoa.
Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your contacts. Thank you.
The next slide shows the president of Zimbabwe, President Mnangagwa. Sorry about the name. And he has been a pain in the butt of the colonial masters. Most recently, they have changed currency from their international currency and even their regular currency. They are using gold coins, which has upset the colonial powers, the EU and so on, and especially the IMF, which the IMF, for people who know or don't know, is the major arm, major instrument that the colonial and the neo-colonial powers used to impoverish countries, especially countries in Africa and in the Caribbean, to make them as poor as possible, to allow the colonial powers to be able to buy them out, buy their stuff for little and nothing. I know in the case of Jamaica and many countries, for years they are taking the IMF medicine, mainly devaluation, and it has caused them to get, the majority of the people to get poorer and poorer, and a handful of people to get richer and richer.
Senegal's my name, my capital is Dakar. Nine Seychelles, my capital's Victoria. My name's Seattle, Leon, my capital Freetown, Messiah. Not Somalia, my capital's Mogadishu. I'm South Africa, my administrative capital's Pretoria. South Sudan, yeah, my capital is Juba. North Sudan, my capital Khartoum, now has fame. Nam Swaziland, my capital's Mbabane. Tanzania's my name, my capital is Dodoma. I am Togo, my capital is Lome. Tunisia's my name, my capital Tunis is home. Uganda's who I am, my capital's Kampala, you know. I am Zambia, Lusaka's my capital, you see. I am Zimbabwe, my capital's name is Harare. We are the countries of Africa, our planet's second largest continent right after Asia. We are the countries of Africa. There are 54 countries presently that we will teach.
His Excellency, nice to see you again. Danny Dama and Tony Tego, my partners in our program to build film studios across Africa. Currently we call it West African Studios, but that's because it's a working title. But we've been working at this for 3 or 4 years to raise a plan that puts a facility at the center of African filmmaking. There's a lot of African filmmaking, but the facilities around that are something that is lacking. In South Africa, they have a big facility. A lot of film production goes there. But quickly, as we're planning this, we realized that policy is where the actual groundwork needs to be laid. We've studied the models of obviously South Africa, who have an incredible incentive package. Then around Europe, obviously Greece, Morocco. These are all places where they realize the value of the filmmaking dollar, and have brought that policy into play. Tony, Danny, and the film
National Film Authority.
National Film Authority have done the work, put together a very comprehensive plan to propel Ghana into the forefront It needs to be robust. It needs to be competitive to the rest of the world. But we believe for sure, and I know you believe this too, it's been part of your legacy that you want to leave as well, that, you know, Ghana should step up in terms of attracting those filmmakers. So, you know, as we said in the DC, I'd come and see you and present to you essentially just the parameters of what we need to do. In short, the work has been done. We've done a lot of the sort of understanding what international filmmakers need for Ghana specifically, in tandem as we lay the ground for the studios. I'm led to believe that there are some plans for the studios, some other studios to be brought to Ghana, which is fantastic, and you know, one should not cannibalize the other. But without, I think, the policy component, I think it's safe to say that we could have as many studios as we want, but we will not have the filmmakers attracted here. So I think one of the things to just highlight for you, you know, what I want to do personally myself, I have a film that I'm directing, and I'm hoping to bring that film, or at least some of that film, to shoot in Ghana. That film will be, I would say we would be here in December. We start pre-production in August. Some of the film, 2 or 3 weeks, will be in Ghana, say by December. Hopefully, if we were to move with a fair wind and we were in agreement of what we could do in terms of the policy, we could case study my film as a proof of concept. I mean, you know, needless to say, it would take a lot of collaboration to move quickly. However, it would be very beneficial for us to show and to make an announcement to the world that Ghana is open for business. Here is the steps, the policies are in place, and we have actually bringing a film, one of the soil, I might say, to our country, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is. So in short, His Excellency, that's the plan. We're confident that you want to do the same as we do, but it's just a question of whether we can push this through with the relevant parties to make it happen.
Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your contacts. Thank you.